Hey, I'm Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I mean, I'm wearing the GOAT hoodie. No, this is not a GOAT. No, Kareem Bigum, Spice Adams is not the GOAT. But did we just see the GOAT do something that nobody thought would ever be done? And is he the GOAT? We'll talk about LeBron James versus Michael Jordan coming up next in the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey everyone, I'm Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota's podcast network. I'm excited because LeBron James finally surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 38,388 points. He passed Kareem on a kind of a step back fade away from the free throw line jumper. Really iconic if you think about the Michael Jordan iconic free throw line shot against the Utah Jazz. I saw picture of those two shots. LeBron's shot, just like Michael Jordan's shot, will go down in history. We will talk about that coming up on the Ron Johnson Show. We also have Tommie Harris, former Super Bowl participant, Chicago Bear, first-round draft pick, Oklahoma Sooner. But Tommie's been through a lot, and I'm looking forward to talking to Tommie. Tommie's been through it all. And he's been through things that you never, ever would imagine going through at his age. He was married for about 30 days before he had to bury his wife. And if you think about that and just the trauma and everything that goes along with that, you know, moving on now in life and being a father, we talk about fatherhood. We're going to talk about his life, overcoming, enduring. He has a great kind of speech, book, everything. I mean, it's awesome when you hear Tommie's story about enduring and how God can really just guide you. So you want to stick around for that. Tommie Harris, he's going to join me in the Hang with Ron Johnson segment, and then we got the Daily Three. But before we jump into this Michael Jordan versus LeBron James conversation with me and Sam real quick, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Make every moment more. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on today to get started. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started today. And like I've always said, when I have a parlay on the line, it makes the game a much more exciting time. All right, let's bring Sam Ekstrom to the show. Sam, make sure people know you can download and watch the Locked On Sports Minnesota app on Amazon Fire and Roku. Just download it right to your TV. We'll be right there with you along the way. And subscribe. When you go to YouTube, please subscribe. Subscribers matter because, one, you get all the updates, true time, and then wherever you get your podcast, you can also find Locked On Sports Minnesota and the Ron Johnson Show. Sam, it's time to talk about this, Sam. There's going to be a lot of hate today on the internet. There's going to be a lot of Michael Jordan lovers. They're going to hate on LeBron James. There's going to be a lot of LeBron James lovers that are going to not hate on Jordan, because I don't think any LeBron fans ever hate on Jordan. It's always the Jordan fans hating on LeBron. But it's going to be a lot of talk today about the points and everything. And I saw one guy, and when you don't know basketball, it's fun to talk about it, but you can tell the people that don't play basketball. And this guy's comment was, if you look at the top 10 scorers, there's only 2 guards out there. Imagine if they made those layups 1 point instead of 2. I think they should do that. Okay, let's do that. Michael Jordan, way more dunks than LeBron James. LeBron James only has like 2,088 dunks and counting, of course. Michael Jordan was like in the 2,200 or 2,300 dunks. So way more dunks. Michael Jordan of LeBron. Well, let's go to three-pointers. LeBron James' career, 34% three-point shooter. Michael Jordan, 32% three-point shooter. Michael Jordan only made 581 threes. LeBron James, it's ridiculous. I think over 2,200 three-pointers have been made by LeBron James. So when we're talking about shooting, he's shooting from further and more accurate. He's done it longer. When you talk about dunks, Michael Jordan had more dunks than LeBron. LeBron is the mid-range turnaround shoot off one leg guy. Like you can say it however you want. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Fine, he is. He's the greatest of all time. We've never seen a 6-time champion like him, a winner like him. Fine. But LeBron James is the greatest scorer in NBA history. You can say it however you want. You can shape it however you want. Oh, Michael Jordan had a better average. Man, look, every argument you make, you can make the same argument that LeBron James is better at 6'8", 250 pounds. He didn't bully people all the time like he could have. Like Michael Jordan, if Michael Jordan was LeBron's, and this is the mindset, Michael Jordan did have a different kind of a killer instinct, bully mindset, where LeBron, it was a friendship era. Like he was friends with a lot of these guys. So you didn't see him bully and just beat up guys. I mean, now when he was trying to go for that record last night against OKC, he don't know none of these guys. I think the starters on the floor for OKC, LeBron James's 20-year career tripled the amount of time those guys have been in the league. I think it was like 2 or 3 rookies starting and then 2 guys or 3 guys with 2 years. So LeBron James had tripled the amount of time he had been in the league to those 5 starters combined for OKC. So he didn't care. He was a train coming down the tracks. Choo, choo, get out the way. He was bullying people, knocking them over and ones. It was awesome to see Jay-Z, Shannon Sharp, Denzel Washington. Michael Jordan wasn't there, unless he was somewhere secretly in a suite. I've not seen any reports or rumors that Michael Jordan was in the building. Kareem was there. Magic was there. Michael Jordan was nowhere to be found. Michael Jordan didn't want to be a part of that. We know Michael Jordan, he doesn't care. Michael Jordan's a competitor his entire life. He don't want to deal with that of people sitting up here asking him questions all night while he's there. So he probably didn't want to deal with that. And I get it. You're Michael Jordan. You're the greatest of all time. He didn't want to deal with those questions all night because, of course, the reporters would have asked him, like, what do you think of LeBron James? Is he the greatest of all time or is he the greatest scorer? What's Mike going to do at that point? No, I'm the greatest. Like Michael Jordan's going to say he's the greatest, and he is. But LeBron James is the greatest NBA scorer of all time. And it's going to grow. I mean, he said last night, the way he's playing, the way he mentally is playing, he feels like he could play like Kareem played till he was 42. So LeBron feels like that. Kareem played 20 seasons as well and played till he was 42. LeBron started in high school, so he's only 38. LeBron could get 4 more seasons in if you think about Kareem and changing the game. And changing how you play, because he wants to play with Bronny. So I'm pretty sure he's going to try to stick around for 4 years to try to get Bronny in the league in the next 2 or 3 years. If not after one and done, if he goes to Ohio State or who knows where he's going to go for college. But this is where I go with this, Sam. People can hate all they want. You can say whatever you want, but LeBron James is the greatest scorer in NBA history, period. Michael Jordan, yeah, you could say he's the greatest player of all time, but he did not score more points than LeBron James. He dunked the ball more, so that argument is out the door that LeBron just had layups. His three-pointer was better than Michael Jordan and more frequent than Michael Jordan. Granted, the game did change. Steph Curry changed the game with the three-pointer. So who knows if Michael Jordan had been in the league now and adopted this I got to shoot 3 mentality, maybe he shoots more, a higher clip. But when he was playing, it was, hey, I want to get the best shot possible. That for him, that was the dunk. Guys were scared of Michael Jordan coming to the lane. Like and I love the fact that OKC doubled LeBron. Like they were like, we're not giving you this record. You're going to earn this record. We're not giving it to you. They were doubling him. Even on the last shot, you would have thought for history, OKC would have let up a little bit and let him try to get the sky. Because you know he wanted to sky hook it. You can tell he got it in the block on the right side. He was dribbling. He was going to sky hook it. And then they doubled him. He had to kick it out and get the pass. And the crowd booed. And they're like, man, just let the dude shoot the sky hook. Like, stop. And so the next time down, he's like, you know what? They're not going to give me the sky hook. So LeBron being LeBron, he's like, let me shoot my signature 1-foot fadeaway shot. This is going to be the picture in the Louvre. This is going to be NBA history. This is going to be an NFT. This is FanDuel probably had a prop. What shot is LeBron going to make? Is it going to be the hook or a dunk? What's it going to be? It was the fadeaway off one leg. I don't know if that was an option, but I'm pretty sure it was because that's one of LeBron's favorite shots. But Sam, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that there's almost a level of bias against LeBron because of how easy he makes things look. LeBron has the benefit of being a freight train. I mean, what it is 6'8", 260. You know, the guy is massive, and he does not look as spectacular doing some of the things he does because he is so physically formidable. Like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, when they contort themselves and when they crash into the lane and they flip the ball up, or when they, step back 30 feet from the basket and shoot, it just looks a little more spectacular because they're undersized, and they have to do that kind of thing. LeBron just overpowers people.
Yeah.
And LeBron doesn't have a weakness in his game. He does everything well. I think of him as Brady. Like, Tom Brady was not the most physically impressive quarterback, but he just did everything well with his ability to do the short throws, the long throws, the pre-snap reads, the leadership. And LeBron brings that whole package to the table. While he may not shoot the three like Curry, he may not be able to finish at the rim like some other greats. He may not be the best free throw shooter of all time, but he's just like above average at everything. And he had longevity, and he never had major injuries. Like, he was just the whole package for 2 decades.
Yeah.
So even though, and I think he's past the point where he can literally pull a team on his shoulders to an NBA Finals like he did earlier in his career, but he's still, like, he needs a little supporting cast at this point. It's a little bit of a bummer that he's kind of going out with the Lakers, who just aren't competitive. But the guy cannot be overlooked for just being a phenomenal all-around player for the last 20 years. I mean, that's got to count for something.
Yeah, and he is the greatest NBA scorer of all time. Like, it is what it is. I forgot who was saying. I think Jamal Crawford was saying, like, to do what LeBron did for somebody moving forward. So Victor coming into the league, Wembanyama, he'd have to score 25 points a game for his entire career for about 18 years. Like 18 to 20 years, he'd have to score 25 points per game every single night. I mean, you could have some 40-pointers, some 50, but you'd have to average 25 points every single day, every single year. That is hard to do. And so that's why this record is probably not going to, I mean, it took 38 years for this to be broken. 1984, LeBron was born. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was setting this record. That's kind of ironic. That's kind of like it was written. Like, when Kareem set that record, God said, let me bless the next baby, and this baby's going to do it. And God put that into LeBron. When LeBron was born, I mean, come on. Like, God was like, you're going to get it. Because Kareem said it. Literally, the year LeBron was born, Kareem set his record. And now LeBron breaks it 38 years later. And so when you think about that, I don't know if there's a baby being born right now. I don't know if there's a 2023 baby out there being born. But it might take 38 more years for that baby to do this. Like, it's going to take that baby to get to 18, get to the league, and then 20 years to maybe break. And LeBron's going to play he's probably going to play at least he's 40. He looks good. He doesn't look like he's run down. He doesn't look like his knees are killing him, like his diet and everything, that the league has changed so much. This is going to be a 40,000 plus, point record at this point.
45
like,
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna put it out there. It's gonna be far. Like, and he's on a team, and he's the guy that's willing to, like, hey, we'll let you score. And at this point, too, now I think he's gonna kind of, and even like, he's top 3 in assists. So that's the thing. He's not a ball hog. Like, to do what he did and be top 3 in assists, like, if this were hockey, and because hockey, I know you get credit for goals when you assist the goal, and that's a big stat, like assists or stat, and that's not even counting playoffs. The man is like one of the best playoff scorers in all time. So you're not even counting his playoff stats. Like, if we put playoff stats and regular season stats together, LeBron for sure has that. Michael Jordan probably climbs a little bit, but Michael Jordan for sure, LeBron for sure has that record. Like, that's crazy. We're not even counting playoffs. Playoffs? We're not even counting the playoffs. So that to me is amazing. And I hope people just enjoy history. And I mean, like, me and my wife stayed up late to watch that. She even cried at LeBron's speech. I don't know why. But it was amazing. Cause, like, we're going to remember this. Like, we're going to remember this time. Like, we're going to remember, like, I know I will. And then my young daughter, who plays basketball now, she seems like she loves it as she's in the 2nd grade. But, like, I'm going to be able to tell her this later today and this weekend. She has a game this weekend. So I'm going to talk to her about that. Like, man, like this is the greatest player of all time. Like greatest scorer of all time. Cause I know you guys get touchy when we say, but you know what? Question of the day. Let us know what you think. Who's the greatest player of all time and who's the greatest scorer? I know you can say if you want to say Michael Jordan's the greatest scorer of all time, say it. It doesn't matter. It's not real. It's not right. But let us know what you think in the comment section. Question of the day. Greatest player of all time. Is it LeBron or is it Michael Jordan? But you can't deny he's not the greatest scorer. So you let us know what you think. But we got Tommie Harris coming up next. Tommie Harris is going to join me in the Hang on Ron Johnson segment. Looking forward. Like I said, Tommie's been through a lot. Tommie's he's endured. He's persevered. But he also has something coming up with him and Clinton Portis. Clinton Portis, friend of the show. With money. When you talk about young players and spending money, you know, you give me $8 million right out the gate as a kid. You know, you give me $10 million. For me, it was $2 million out the gate. 21-year-old kid. What do I do with $2 million? You really don't know. Like, I remember my first check, you know, it was like what, 300 something $1,000. Like my first NFL like event I went to, $25,000 check. Nobody told me what to do with that. Like they don't tell you this stuff. And so Tommie's going to sit down and talk about that as well. Him and Clinton Portis have something going on to help out with finances and young players and not making those mistakes. And he's going to pen a letter to his younger self. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that's about. But make sure you know Locked On Sports Minnesota is a proud partner with Care 11. Check out care11.com/locked on for links to every one of our Locked On shows. We have a word from our sponsors.
Thanks, Ron. Today's show is presented by FanDuel. That's your way to bet on Super Bowl 57. It's America's #1 sportsbook. It's our new partner here at Locked On. You can check out the no-sweat first bet for Super Bowl 57. Get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score the first touchdown. MVP odds. Hurts and Mahomes both plus 130 right now at FanDuel. Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use at FanDuel, and you get paid your winnings instantly. Join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/LockedOn to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more.
Well, now it's time for the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment. I got Tommie Harris joining me today. And Tommie Harris and I, we were teammates for like a split second. I went to the Chicago Bears, played tight end for a little bit, ended up getting hurt, still tried to come back and play, but just couldn't get it done. Unfortunate, because then one of my best friends, Spice Adams, ended up going there, I think a year or two later, so I wish I had worked out there. But got to know Tommie through bowling. Tommie and I, Nate Vasher, I don't know why, but all of a sudden we would hang out randomly and just go bowling. And so Tommie is going to join us on the Ron Johnson Show. I want to appreciate you for joining me today.
Thank you so
how you
much.
been, man? You still bowling and getting it in?
Well, not bowling as much. You know, being a full-time dad, it takes up a lot of your time, man. So I'm more just like probably you. I spend more time in the car dropping off and picking up and different things. So not bowling as much, man.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, man. So I'm gonna jump out there, man. There's a lot of stuff going on. You, Clinton Portis, friend of the show, just joined on the show. Clint and I were in the same 2002 drive class, so we had him join. And a friend of mine, Will Bradford, who's going to join later as well. He is with Revel, and so you guys put out on the platform with Michael Baptiste, I think it's Baps or Baptiste. And with Rockefeller, and they're talking about finance. So we're going to get into football. We're going to get into Super Bowls. We're going to get into, but I think there was something very important with that when I kind of watch, man, like, and I've been down in New York and I've done the tour of Rockefeller and the stock exchange and Fordham University. So I understand the money side of it. I was a player who probably didn't understand the 17 weeks of dollars coming in versus the 52 weeks of life in a year. Learned quickly though, but I did succumb to that as well. Myself, Bart Scott, I remember we all were talking about that as rookies. But explain what you and Clinton Portis have going with Dollars and Cents.
So Dollars and Cents is just a financial platform, well, a learning platform for financial literacy. And I don't really like the word financial literacy, but I think it's a good start and a rudimentary way to introduce basic financial tools, in layman's terms, to the kids, things we wish that could have been broken down to us a lot easier, that was made complicated. So just deframing that work and simplifying it for today's youth, and for anyone else who's in the key of learning, who wants to learn.
And for those who don't know your story, you mentioned something also about spending the money before you have it. And, coming to the NFL, let's call it $8 million, and you don't know what to do with it, but everybody else has a plan for your money besides you. What was that mindset like at that time?
Well, that mindset was pretty much, the crazy thing is that you don't really even have that mindset, right? You just excited about that money's not, you just heard these numbers, and this is what your value is said you are now. You were just in a dorm room, you were just eating basic lunch with your teammates at the cafeteria, and now all of a sudden you got American Express Black Card that can buy anything you ever thought about. So it takes a while to shift in that. It's almost like winning a lottery. You're a farmer and then you win a lottery, and all of a sudden you need a Bentley now when you was driving a tractor. So it's basically coming to that place of, I'm learning your mental your wealth is your mental wealth. Your mental health is your mental wealth. I'm learning, if you cannot sustain if there's a lot of insecurities or a lot of things that you have not lived through, money just is an amplifier, and it amplifies off of character. So I've recognized what I'm doing with our youth now is building up their self-character so they don't compare themselves to other people, and that's where spending gets bad and finances, because you're always thinking you don't have enough, and you're willing to do whatever that crazy thing is to buy that car for that moment, or pay that ridiculous amount for that wedding that doesn't last for 3 years, and you bought $100,000 ring the marriage didn't go over 6 months. So it's just, I'm learning that there's a real healthy aspect, because I recognize that if you get $1 billion today, you can't buy tomorrow. So where are we rushing at, right? So it's starting to put patience in your process, and learning that you can compound interest, and you can grow with time. You don't have to do that thing right now. I'm 39 years old, so I like to chop myself up in versions now. I'm the version 39 of Tommie Harris. And with time and a plan and a strategy, I can get there by 45 or 50. I didn't know I could do that. As an African-American male, it's YOLO. You only live one. You don't know if you're going to live tomorrow. You ain't talking about saving forever. That's you. That ain't me. So it's really, I didn't know that I could put patience in my process and really take my time, put a plan together, and have an aim, something to shoot for. And if I stay on target every day, if I manage my behavior, it makes it a lot easier to sustain and to keep what I bring in more than what I put out.
Yeah, I love that, because I know I saw Chad Johnson as well. He talked about it, and basically he put it as, what's the purpose of what you're buying? Is it for the women? Well, you're going to get women anyway if you do what you need to do, or if you're in the right place at the right time. And he's like, and then what are you doing it for? You trying to impress these dudes? These dudes don't care nothing about you, X, Y, and Z. And and I remember being at the Pro Bowl because Ed Reed reached out. Hey man, you want to go to Pro Bowl? I just got, I'm in it, blah, blah. So me, him, a couple guys flew out there. And I remember Terrell Owens being at I forgot the restaurant, and I joke with T.O. all the time about this now. One of his boys tried to buy food for a bunch of random people, like girls, and of course it's girls, and he had to tell him right away, like, man, look, you're not about to spend my money. Like, if you want to take care of these girls, you take care of these girls. And a lot of players and people with money, they get caught up in that, where they think they need to go in and buy the bar. They need to go in and buy everybody this, or I'm going to buy everybody a different car. I'm going to take care of all my boys and blah, blah, and I'll never forget too, Ed Reed was like, yeah, man, I can either put y'all in first class, it was like 4 of us, or I can put 8 of us in coach. And we was all like, man, let's just go coach. Like, if we all playing football. We was all rookies, or I think it was our second year. We was all second year players. But we also like, Man, and that was after my first year spending all the money. I realized, like, you know what, man, that the mindset does have to change. And I've been lucky enough to be able to learn now and grow. But love what you guys are doing, man. And when you talk about, and I hear you say like the version of you now, 39, and the comments you make, you went through some tough times in your life. And when you think about Tommie Harris, the football player, and then Tommie Harris, going through the Endure season and talking about Endure, explain to people who don't know or haven't seen it. And if, for those that want to know, just Google Tommie Harris Endure. You'll hear the story, but explain to people what enduring is all about.
Well, enduring is a mindset that says, whatever come what may, I can't quit. And you are not your situations nor your circumstances. So it's just a mindset that's saying, regardless of what the weather is outside, myself, the exterior, the externals, regardless of what comes, the news that I may hear today, the things I may have to see, the tough parts of life that happen to all of us, regardless what comes, I must persevere. I must continue. And it's giving yourself no excuse to quit. And that's all enduring is, seeing what tomorrow may hold. If today is not what I want it to be, if it didn't turn out, I have hopes for tomorrow. And that's what enduring is, just to see the possibilities. You never know, man. A lot of people I've seen, and especially over COVID, I saw so many people taking lives and ending it early, and it was only because there was not a word of hope. Tomorrow seems dim, and the noise got so loud outside of themselves that they could no longer put a fighting word back to their circumstances. And that's all enduring is, no matter what you're going through, where you're at in your life, whatever news you've heard, what it wait on tomorrow. And we hope and we pray that things get better with time. And as you mature in this faith or mature in your life, it's just a call to action to continue and press on no matter what.
And when you transition, and you, like I said, you've endured, you've done something that 0.06% of the world will never do, which is be an NFL player, NFL draft pick, college football player, walk away with no debt from college. That's something very special that definitely needs to be championed and understood. And I'm more proud of, when we first started this, before we even started recording, you talking about being a father, and that, to me, anytime, like, I'm friends with Spice Adams. I just got off with Aiken Andale today. But seeing men, and of course black men, but seeing, men really be fathers, because, sometimes it's not the thing that we celebrate. You think about two quarterbacks right now in the Super Bowl, and you look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Jalen Hurts, both had dads in the household, but we're not talking about that. If they had been, drug babies, or if they had, been in the projects, they'd be all over this. Like, look how he took care of his mom, and look what he's done. No, his dad was a professional baseball player, but we're not going to talk about that. We want to make jokes about smoking a Joe Burrow pack than we do want to talk about, hey, you've been around your son his entire life. How has that been as a father? We don't ask those questions of Patrick Mahomes' dad. We just want to,
because nobody's gonna buy that newspaper or buy into that feed or whatever. That doesn't sell,
yeah.
And it's podcasts like this that allows those platforms to be voiced and to edify and give kudos to people that are doing that.
Well, no, I appreciate you for being a good father. Let's go back to the time before you were in college, before you were pro, before you had all the money. You had Roy Williams, you had all these guys at Oklahoma. Roy Williams has been on the show a couple of times. Talk a little bit about college football with no mindset of you can go to the NFL, or at what point did you like say, like, man, I'm really that guy. Like I'm probably gonna make it. Like when did that hit for you?
So I knew I was going to the pros when I was a sophomore in high school. And
okay.
yeah, not like that, but for real, I would be lying if I didn't know. But I came from, you got to know a little bit about my background. My mother and my father were preachers and pastors. So football, I went to church majority of the time. We didn't even know what NFL teams were, what the names were. I had to make all that up in college, right? When I got to college, when the pros started asking me what's my favorite team, I had to just piece stuff together. I was mixing up the Atlanta Braves with the Cincinnati. I had them all, you know. But I knew the word of God, right? So
Yeah.
in college, I always knew I knew that if I dedicated myself to something, I got in a lot of trouble early on in my life, and I gave my life to Christ after juvenile detention center, going off to alternative school, being through. I went through an early stage where I separated myself from the group. I no longer hung out with people anymore. I almost screwed my life up early, so I made a decision: if I'm gonna get in trouble, the blame's gonna be on me. I got in someone else's trouble. So I gave my life to Christ, and I began to just really fall in love with the weight room. And I noticed this wasn't a pattern that a lot of people had at my age. I hung out. My father's in the military, so I was always around a lot of older men, and I started to get a lot of workouts and different things. I met a linebacker my sophomore year named Victor Ellis from the University of Alabama. God rest his soul. He ended up passing away. But this man's father was in a military base where my father was stationed, and he would come back to my high school gym and give me Alabama University's workout plan and their game. So, and I was a chubby dude at that time, and I asked Victor, I said, "Hey, Vic," I say, Vic was sliced up. If you go look at Victor Ellis, he was one of they Sam backers, but he was chopped up, and I wanted to look. I say, "So what do I got to do? I'm gonna do whatever you say." He gave me the nutrition plan, gave me the workout plan, and then he said, "Hey, if you follow these instructions," he said, "by the next time I see you next year, you should look like this, or even close around." I followed everything to the T. He said, "Don't eat." He said, "And the other things, don't eat potato chips and don't drink soda." I did it. Did that for a year. When Victor came back, I filled out this shirt he gave me, and I was cut up just like Vic. I took off from there. I had two cousins, Stalker McDougal, Jerome McDougal,
Oh, yeah.
played for the Philadelphia Eagles, and one played for the Detroit Lions. Those are my first cousins, my mother's sister's sons. They would take me to training when I was in high school in Houston, and I was able to pass rush against NFL players in high school. I was winning the matches.
Okay.
I was learning from my cousins. I was playing against some of the best linemen, and I was winning some of the matches. So I knew I had a course that all I had to do was stay focused and don't mess this up. And I poured all that into going to church, read my word, and if I wasn't in there, I was in the weight room. And so I'm not saying that to be cocky.
Right.
It just became a sign. Like I knew if I was given, it's like your dad being Shaq and your dad being LeBron, and you got a pipeline that's telling you all you got to do is this. You're gonna and you start seeing the potential, like, oh, I could jump with him, I can dunk, I can go around him and do that same spin. I saw that early. I didn't have to wait to go off to camps or my parents to. I was in the system early. So that's how I knew I could kind of compete at an early level at that age.
That's
And
what's
that's
up,
what
man.
helped me go into Oklahoma and start as a freshman. That's after I look at everything how I did it. I didn't understand it, but I was already being equipped because of who my cousins were and what they were already plugged into, and they shared with me.
That's what's up.
And I
When
was
you're looking
willing to
at
follow the rules. Go
yeah, when
ahead.
you're looking at
Go ahead.
Oklahoma, because you played
Mhm.
at Oklahoma, and when you guys were there, you, Roy Williams, some of those teams, you guys were the best of the best, cream of the crop. Better than the Alabamas, better than the Georgias. Like Oklahoma was it, Texas was it. As you see a trend change, Alabama now and Georgia are up there. Now the Big Ten is starting to pull teams from the you got USC and UCLA trying to become a mega conference with the Big Ten. Where do you see the Big 12 and Oklahoma football going? Because like Lincoln Riley, he dipped and went to USC on you guys and now, turned them into something. Do you see it getting back to it, or do you feel like the Big 12 is going to have to separate and maybe hit the SEC to get back to where they've been as far as recruiting?
I don't know, Ron. That's a good question. I'm telling you that NIL, it flipped college football. If
Yeah.
anybody that sits across these cameras or does interviews on this and act like they know are lying.
Right.
It's the wild, wild west right now in NCAA. There's no loyalty anymore. There's no teamship. It's who's paying the most, and that's where kids are going. And if you better hope they don't fall in love with another girl from another school, because they will leave your school to go hang out with their girl for a year. It is the system did not move. uh, they just moved overnight without it did not move properly. And
Right.
I think that it's going to take a while for the whole anybody can win. I feel like now any team can win the NCAA, the college championship, depending on what moves they make that year, just like the pros.
True.
So I don't know. I want to say the university could, and I'll be lying.
And when you think about, you look at Deion Sanders now going to Jackson State, getting the HBCU built, now taking that to Colorado. And again, people are giving him 2 years and saying with the number of, they said it was 15, which is ridiculous. 1,500 kids transferred this year or trying to transfer this year. When Deion Sanders hit Colorado, it changed to like 18. So 300 other kids left their school just thinking like maybe I can end up with Deion Sanders or one of these top schools. When you think about that, do you think it has to, do they have to find a way to govern this? Because that's getting a little crazy to have 1,800 kids without a home right now, just looking to transfer to a new school.
Yeah, they're gonna have to find a way to cap it. Just like the NFL did, you're gonna have to find a way to cap. And I don't know how they're gonna do that, but it has to be a cap because it's the Wild Wild West. Right? Like they can move at any moment. If you tell them they're on second string, they say no, I'm not. I'm going somewhere else. It's and what sucks about this NIL rule is the academics suffer. Right? Like
Right.
kids are just jumping it around, changing credits, getting the credits taken from. It's a lot going on this financial part that's losing the focus of academia. So I just want them to find the kid deserves some type of order in this chaos because they're going to blame it on the kid. At the end of the day, it's going to get blamed on the kid. They're trying to make the kid an adult, and the kid was not in the room when the adults made the decision.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's up to the adults to do the proper things for the youth.
And before we get into the daily 3, that's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Sam's going to join the show. Got 2 more for Tommie. Let's go to the NFL. You were drafted to the Chicago Bears, monsters of the Midway, Hallis Hall, one of the greatest storied franchises in NFL history. When you look at, Bears, Packers, Chiefs, kind of the guys that started the NFL. What was it like when you got that call that you were going to be a Chicago Bear?
Oh man, it was incredible. I didn't know anything about Chicago but the Bulls, so I was excited. I was excited to get out there and see where Jordan lived and all that other stuff. But it was exciting. I wasn't expecting to drop that low. I thought I was going as low as 10 to Houston, and I was projected to go to either Washington, but they took Sean Taylor, or either 8 to Atlanta, and they took I think Dante Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to just get off the board and go to Chicago, it ended up being God knows what he's doing, man. I played for one of the greatest defense to play at that time. It was just a great opportunity. That cover 2 system coming straight from OU. That's cover 2. I couldn't have picked a better system to be in.
And I know I've been in Chicago and, drove around with Spice and looking at some of these billboards. A little funny one for you. Brian Urlacher has hair now. Have you given him crap for the hair? Because I know he's doing the hair club for men billboards all through Chicago, and so he's got hair now. Like, have you said anything, or you just when you see him, you just let it be?
Nah, let it be, man. Let whatever floats your boat, man. You know what I mean? People think I have a hairpiece now. I was bald my whole career, now I have hair. So whatever floats your boat, man.
I was gonna say that, yeah. So what made you change from the bald, bruiser Tommie Harris to now, Talib Kweli, singing and preaching Tommie Harris?
Man, you crazy. Oh man. I mean, I just feel like at this point in my I was always bald because I felt corporate America, you just look clean and
Mm-hmm.
kept, like you. But when you start to go and discover, I used to wonder when I played, like why Ricky Williams went off and started looking crazy like
Yeah.
that. But those are when people they're in growing mode. They're in their own place. They don't want to look a certain way. They don't have to look a certain way. And then you finally get in life where your finances are at a place or where you can make that decision and you don't offend people. You don't waste time trying to look a certain way. I can get up and just go, and then I do yoga all day. That's how I lost all my weight. I just really stay in a different mindful place inside of. I found something that keeps me anchored
Mm-hmm.
besides the Bible here, but through my physical work practice. I used to box, lift weights. All those things hurt me, even though I'm doing them and you
Mm-hmm.
look good, you hurt doing it. But yoga kind of it goes and heals a part of it. I'm being kind to myself at this journey and just slowing down and enjoying the views, bro.
Yeah, yoga. I got to try that. I can't. That's the third time now I've heard yoga, so I do need to try it because I know my knees is killing me. When you and one last one before we jump into the daily three, when you think about the Chicago Bears and your teammates, and again, I was in that locker room, so I know how much fun the paper ball basketball and the dodgeball and just the random nights where guys be like, hey man, we're gonna come hang out and watch a game or whatever. It seemed like the Bears always had like a tight knit group. And I saw it grow with AB and Peanut. And so if you look at all those guys, your teammates, maybe it's a guy I haven't named, who was the guy you learned the most from being a Chicago Bear?
The guy I learned the most from, um, shoot, I would have to say not like him knowing I learned a lot from him. Like
Mm,
he didn't know I was watching him so much. It would be two guys. It would be Olin Kreutz.
mhm.
I watched him, his work ethic and showing his professionalism for his craft was unmatched. And then the next dude was Musim Muhammad.
Oh yeah.
That was a guy that I really appreciated. That were older elders that I really watched them pour a lot into their job every day.
Yeah, Moose was in our receiver room, so definitely one of the funniest guys that would definitely have some old head, as they call it now, old head words every morning. Like I've never seen a grown up, or I didn't have older players like that. So going to Chicago, watching the guy show up with like a coffee cup, to
Yeah,
meetings, I'm like,
yeah.
like who just drinks coffee?
Moose would have his whole bag like in a
Yeah.
suitcase, and he was just on a whole nother
he,
level, man.
he had the duffel, like he had like the leather,
Yeah,
like Louis Vuitton, like suitcase type bag. Oh yeah,
yeah,
like he had everything he needed in there. But
yeah.
that was that old wisdom,
But you remember back in those days, them boys used to say, "I'm going to the office," or
right?
"I'm going to." They didn't play with that as no job. That wasn't not no football. They knew it was not a game.
Right.
This is we going to work. I thought it was a game. It took me about 7 years to realize. Oh
Oh yeah,
man,
them boys didn't play, man. It was work. They
nah,
had the
boy,
playbook,
they
they had
changed
the creatine or whatever kind of supplement. They got their
everything,
smoothie, everything they needed. Is like I'm gonna
everything.
be here all day until I'm done from workout to practice to film
Yeah.
study, and then I'm gonna get a massage, and then I'm gonna get home. Like
And
they
Moose used
took
to
it.
tell me, Moose came in there one day. I came out of the training room, and Moose said, "Hey, go in there and go get a copy of that for your workers' comp, and go file everything you do in there. Get you a duplicate copy, get you a disc, copy that, and put that in your own little safe at home." He put that on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh
For
yeah.
show your receipts after the game. Like people just think it's that back end of the game is if you ain't saving them receipts and doing your own work, a lot of stuff can disappear that you should be getting compensated for afterward.
Oh, trust me, we've had that conversation on this show a couple of times. We've definitely talked about that. The 5 years after you're done playing, the workers' comp that the state of Illinois sends out to you, and you have to fill out the paperwork. But they want to know where's the proof, because the trainers don't remember. It was a lot of players
Right,
coming in here to get treatment. I don't remember that you broke your finger. I don't remember
right.
that you had a torn meniscus because you never had surgery. So yeah, there's
Mhm.
a lot of that going on where players are asked to get on the field sooner than they have to. Let's get him healthy enough to get out there. Hey, if he makes it through the season hurt, he made it through the season. We didn't really know how hurt he was because he never told us. So you're well aware of that game. But coming up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. It's going to be me, Sam, and Tommie. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feeds on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. Just search Locked On Sports Minnesota. You'll find the Ron Johnson Show. You'll find the Football Party. You'll see all the sports shows. You'll get all the press conferences. But make sure you subscribe because that is going to be the key to get all the new updates. And we have a word from our sponsors.
Thanks, Ron. We jump into the Daily 3 after I tell you to check out Locked On Sports Today, the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and Locked On's take of the day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, it's time for the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. We're going to give Tommie most of the time, of course, but I'm going to pick up where he left off. Take it away, Sam.
All right, Tommie. You know, we're Minnesota-based. We like the Vikings around here, so I got to find a way to get a Vikings question in. You competed against Adrian Peterson twice a year on that defensive line. What was it like game planning for and then competing against AP?
Adrian was a beast, and Adrian's like my little brother. So I used to always go out to eat with Adrian before the game, and I would tell Adrian, if I get contact of you, go down, bro, because I don't want to have to hit you tough. And Adrian always shake his head like he's gonna do it, but I know he's not. But I'll go in there and I didn't hit Adrian like I hit everybody else, and I'll try to take care of Adrian, and Adrian will spin off of me or try to truck me, and then in the rest of the game I have to just turn it on him. But Adrian, he was one of the hardest guys to play against at the running back position.
Man, that's crazy. I will say, because did you and AP play together at Oklahoma?
No, I brung Adrian. I had told Adrian I was going to stay in school for my senior year. That I would have played with him that year, but I ended up leaving.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. So he came right after you. So you lied to him. So that's probably why he didn't want to go down.
I didn't
know.
I know.
What you got next, Sam?
That's great. All right. Super Bowl, obviously, coming up. Eagles and Chiefs. You played in a Super Bowl, Tommie. What is the biggest distraction going into a Super Bowl? You got so much hype, so much media. You're traveling, going to this neutral site game. What's the biggest distraction to kind of get in your way?
Yourself. It's just learning that you came down there. It's a business trip, and you got to keep that at the focus point of your mind the whole week. And the team that does usually wins. But it's a business trip, and we're going to have all the festivities. The one that can win this one will have the festivities, not just for a weekend, but we'll have it for life.
And when you look at the Super Bowl too, I mean, think about the one thing about you guys was Devin Hester. You know what I mean? Like that was the key coming to the game. And I've talked to Tony Dungy. He's come on and talked about this moment on a different show we had. And he said that they had talked all week about we're not going to kick the ball to Devin Hester. We're not going to kick the ball to Devin Hester. And then he said the chaplain before the game gave a preach about walking into the lion's den and not being afraid of the lion and so on and so forth. And so he said he must have had the Holy Ghost for a minute because he was like, you know what, forget this. We're not going to be scared of Devin Hester. We're going to run right into the lion. And they kicked to Devin Hester and Devin Hester ran it back. And then he said he looked over and was like, who said to kick the ball to Devin Hester? And Reggie Wayne turned to him like, you did. Like, you're the one that told us to kick the ball to. And so when you think about that moment, though, in the Super Bowl, they kick it, Devin takes it back. In your mind, do you think, like, you know what? This is written. Like, we're going to win this.
Oh, yeah. In my mind, and that question, was bittersweet for me because me and Mike Brown missed that game. I was for Defensive Player of the Year, and I got hurt, I believe, week 14 against the Minnesota Vikings. I popped my hamstring out my pelvis. So we had to sit and watch. Me and Mike Brown had to sit and watch that. But I thought it was going to be lights out from there. Devin just was doing magic that whole year. So I knew for sure it was going to be lights out from there.
All right, what you got next, Sam?
All right, last one. I got a question about one of the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. So we know Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. I mean, he's elite, probably number one in the league. I want to know about Jalen Hurts. Where do you think he ranks in the league? Is he top 10? Is he top 5? Where is he at? Both of you.
Yeah, I believe Jalen Hurts is top 5 at this time, and especially I'm biased. I've had a chance to watch him and get a chance to know him over the years coming to Oklahoma University, and watching his development, him fighting through adversity at a young age, being one of the first one of the top quarterbacks to leave a top university, go to another one, and have to sit behind Heisman guys and different things. So I feel like his development is showing him how much you fight through adversity and step up to the challenge, what it presents for you. And it's showing the evidence is him being in the Super Bowl after all he was willing to fight through.
I agree. I totally agree. And this is where I go with it. Statistically, he's 10th in passing. But of all those quarterbacks, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, Geno Smith, he's had an anomaly year. But Trevor Lawrence, if you want to throw Aaron Rodgers in there and take Geno Smith out, the biggest difference in all those guys is Jalen Hurts is dynamic with his arm and his legs. And so, yeah, you put him up there because he's throwing the ball better than Lamar Jackson. He's doing better with the offense than Lamar Jackson. And Tommie's dead on with the, like, going to Alabama, being the starter, then losing your job, then, coming back and winning them a championship because the starting quarterback that took your job got hurt, never complaining about it, staying in the game plan because, Tommie knows this. When you get benched, sometimes you're like, man, forget this game plan. I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to practice. I'll stick around and do, but man, I'm out of here at the end of this season because he knew he was leaving. Like when Tua Tagovailoa took over, he knew he was leaving. So he could have mentally checked out. He could have been like, screw this. I'm not going to meet. I'm going to be at the meetings, but I'm not going to pay attention. He paid attention. So when he got his call, he killed it. And then he had to go to another school and then end up going to Oklahoma and then killed it again.
Kudos to his father. Like you said about earlier, I didn't know Jalen Hurts' dad was a coach, and he taught him. It makes sense of his leadership, how he was able to fight through adversity. I remember when the Bears benched me on Monday night against the Green Bay Packers versus Chicago, that big-time division game, and they benched me. Told me I came in to get dressed. They said, you're not playing. I remember being so embarrassed, bro. And if it wasn't for Bo Jackson that called me the next day, Bo Jackson said, hey, how much you get paid in your contract? How much did you get in your locker last week? He said, well, you better go out there and be the world's greatest cheerleader. If it wasn't for him giving me that advice, because I took it, I was about to fold on my team. I was mad at but there's certain guys that come in and they teach you how to be a professional. And if you got that early in your life, like that's it. I just think Hurts is being groomed for being this. Like, I think the stage is being prepared for him to be. He's going to be here for a while. I don't think this will be the last time seeing him.
Yeah, no, that offense, that RPO, Nick Sirianni, what they're doing there, they're defensive built, and I think they're doing it the right way. And so when you have a young quarterback, you have a defense that's tough, it feels a little bit like the Chiefs a couple years ago. And so I think you're right. I think he's going to the NFC for a while. You got Tom Brady probably going to either play one more year, retire. You got Carr going to be done. You got the young gun quarterbacks coming up. So I think Jalen Hurts, the NFC is going to be his for a little bit because the rest of these guys, they're not to his level as far as run and pass. But I want to thank Tommie Harris for joining. What you about to say?
No, I was about to say shout out to those offensive line. I haven't seen offensive line play like this in a long time. Like, it's going to be a good game.
Oh yeah.
These offensive line, Philly and Kansas City has. If you watch Philly, Kelsey is like he's having fun, man, and he's inspiring all them boys. And Orlando Brown, he's having a great job in Kansas City. So I just look forward to seeing those boys rock out.
Well, appreciate you for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. As I always do at the end of the show, man, I want the guests to have a chance to write a letter or leave a voicemail for their younger self. If you were to put this, because when my dad passed away in 2018, I got a chance to sit down with some greats. We're talking about Joe Green, we're talking about Franco Harris, Frenchie Fuqua, Mel Blount came, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham wrote notes. And as I'm talking to Joe Green, I'm talking to Mel Blount and even Donnie Shell, like the one thing they all kind of said is like, one, watching those guys still be friends. This was the 1978-79 Super Bowl team. So the fact that it was 78-79, they were the steel curtain, and they're still boys. Like, they're still showing up for each other at their funerals. They're still showing, like that to me. Like, people were like, man, what was the thing? I was like, that to me was the biggest thing to show that my dad, was a good guy. Because you can say whatever you want. He had CTE. We know that. We had his brain donated. So all the stuff he went through, all the trials he dealt with after playing 8 years, I know that wasn't him because what those guys told me was him. And so seeing that and those guys talk about what they could have told themselves and all that kind of stuff. I want you to have a chance, man. If you could leave yourself a voicemail or something like that in a time capsule, what's something you would go back and tell your younger self?
I would just tell my younger self to smile more and to forgive myself more, and to like I said earlier, add patience to your process. Like if I could tell anyone that earlier, is to slow down and to learn to say thank you every morning, that this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Find something to be thankful for. Find something to be glad about. And then get lost in serving others, serving people. Because sometimes we don't get everything we're going to get. But what do we do in the meantime, in our average time, feeling less than? You go give a helping hand. There's always value there. So that's the biggest thing I can say is just enjoy the view. Slow down, enjoy the view. Don't compare your life to someone else trying to say, well, I need this because they have, or this. Man, you be grateful and you pray for people, and you don't talk about people, you pray for people. When people say, what do you think about so-and-so? You say, I don't. I'm praying for them. You don't think,
like
right? Like, so you just pray. If you can't say nothing good, don't say nothing at all. And just learn to pray for other people, wish the best for other people, and just serve. And in that, you'll find some type of peace that can sustain you in life's marketplace.
Well, I want to appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. For those that want to hear more about Tommie Harris and what they're doing, check out Revel. Go to their streams. Keep up. You can go to Tommie's social media as well. Him, Clinton Portis. They've been posting when those are going to go live. They just had one on January 30th. I know they have more coming down the pike, so I'm looking forward to that. The financial conversations are great. The life conversation is great. And man, like my wife went through breast cancer, so we're hearing your endure stuff, man. Like that was huge to have, for a 37-year-old woman to have to deal with that. You know, it was huge to just see, like, you know what, like the trouble, the times, the darkness I'm in. Like it's not just me, you know. So I do want to,
and it don't last always, bro. It don't.
So
last
I never told you that, man. But I appreciate that, man, because that's something that I don't want to cry, but that's something that you know what I mean. Like that's something that got me through it. So I definitely appreciate it. And I know for men, like that's something I've always told myself recently is I need to start telling more men the things they've done for me that they don't even know. So I do want to let you know that, man. After seeing that, man, it took me back. I had to actually told my wife, like, I was in a dark time. Like I think I was on autopilot. Like literally, there were days where I don't remember going through chemo. I don't remember.
And it's okay.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
It's okay. The rule number one, I want to tell anyone this before we get off. It's okay to not be okay. And when you admit that, that's where you start getting answers. You're asking for help, but you first got to admit that I'm not okay. And that's okay. Once you recognize that, you'll start getting on a path to get you answers to what you're not okay about. But you can't keep saying I'm good when you're not.
Man,
that thing backfires. So, man, just for even you to speak that, Ron, I thank you. Thanks for your show, bro. And blessings for all your success, bro.
Well, man, appreciate you. For those, please remember to subscribe, like, share, comment. Also, Locked On Sports Minnesota. You can find it on Amazon Fire. You can find it on Roku, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. But at the end of the day, just make sure you subscribe because that's going to give you the updates of all the shows. Go back and watch previous shows. We've had Clinton Portis. We've had Roy Williams. We've had Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings as well. Please check those out too. There were some great interviews, but I want to thank you and have a great day.